Have you ever wondered why God sometimes keeps you waiting for love? Why He allows your heart to walk through seasons of silence before bringing the right person into your life? It's because the silence is not punishment, it's preparation. Before the divine connection comes, heaven must teach your heart to stand on its own. When you ask God for love, He often begins by teaching you solitude. He removes distractions so that when love finally arrives, you will recognize peace, not confusion. The silence before the encounter is sacred. It's where you learn that love is not meant to complete you, but to complement what God has already restored within. You may feel as if nothing is happening, no messages, no signs, no doors opening. Yet in that quiet space, heaven is working behind the scenes, aligning two stories, healing two souls, shaping two hearts to recognize each other at the right time. God's silence is not absence, it's orchestration. Sometimes He hides your heart so that it will not be handled by unready hands. He closes doors that seem perfect to protect the promise that truly is. He teaches you that love is not something you find, it's something you become. The person you're praying for is not the prize, wholeness is. Because only when you are whole can you receive love without losing yourself in it. So if you're in that quiet season, the one where everything feels still and unanswered, don't mistake it for delay. It's the divine pause before the divine unveiling. God is writing the chapters of your love story in silence, so that when the time comes, it will read like destiny. If this message resonates with your heart, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss what's coming next. Give this video a like to help it reach someone else waiting faithfully, and share in the comments, what has the silence before love taught you? Before God brings you the person meant for your soul, He often leads you into a season of intentional isolation. It's not rejection, it's redirection. You may feel like doors are closing, friendships are fading, and the world has grown quieter around you. But heaven knows that before you can love another heart rightly, you must first learn to live whole within your own. God isolates you to heal what connection once concealed. When you are surrounded by people, it's easy to hide the wounds that still bleed. But when you are alone, truth begins to echo. You start hearing the whispers of your unhealed places, the patterns that kept repeating, the compromises you made just to feel wanted, the loneliness you tried to cure with attention. This is where God begins His work, not in noise, but in stillness. He removes the company that kept you comfortable so that conviction can reach you. Because transformation rarely happens when you're distracted. The isolation you fear is the incubator of your spiritual maturity. It's where God rebuilds your identity apart from anyone else's opinion. He teaches you that your worth was never tied to being chosen, it was tied to being created. This is also where God detoxes your heart from counterfeit love. He pulls away the voices that fed your insecurity, the relationships that reflected your wounds instead of your worth. It hurts to watch people leave, but sometimes their exit is evidence of His protection. You may not understand it now, but solitude is how God sanctifies your standards. He wants you to enter the next season not needy, but ready, not searching for validation, but walking in vision. When love arrives, it will not fix you, it will recognize you. It will mirror the healing you allowed God to complete in private. So if you're alone right now, don't curse the silence, consecrate it. This is the sacred surgery of heaven. You're not being isolated because you're forgotten. You're being isolated because you're being prepared to be found. Before God introduces the person meant to walk beside you, He will often confront you with the reflection of who you've been in love before. The memories resurface, old emotions rise again, people from your past may even reappear, not to rekindle what was, but to reveal what still needs healing. This is the divine mirror of your past relationships, and its purpose is not to shame you, but to shape you. God allows the past to return to your memory, not to trap you there, but to teach you discernment. You begin to see the patterns that once went unnoticed, how you mistook attention for affection, comfort for commitment, and chemistry for confirmation. He shows you how you kept repeating what you never resolved. Because until you confront what broke you, you will keep attracting it in a different body. The mirror of the past is uncomfortable, but necessary. It exposes the parts of you that love without boundaries, forgive without wisdom, and stay where peace has already left. God uses that mirror not to condemn, but to correct. He is not pointing to your mistakes. He is pointing to your lessons. Every heartbreak was a classroom. Every goodbye was guidance. Every closed chapter was a mercy you couldn't recognize yet. In this reflection, you start to see the difference between what you wanted and what you needed. You realize that the love you lost was never meant to define you. It was meant to refine you. The pain didn't come to destroy your faith in love, but to teach you how to love without losing your faith. So when the past comes knocking, don't open the door in regret. Open it in revelation. Look at it, thank it, and release it. You no longer need to revisit old versions of yourself to prove you've changed. The mirror has done its work. God is preparing you for a love that reflects healing, not history. A love that will not remind you of who you were, but reveal who you've become. There is a sacred moment in every journey toward divine love when everything seems to stand still. You've healed, you've grown, you've prayed, yet nothing moves. No signs, no confirmations, no new faces, just silence. This is the test of patience, one of God's hardest but holiest lessons. Because waiting is not about time, it's about trust. When God delays love, He isn't denying you. He's deepening you. He is stretching your capacity to believe without proof, to hope without evidence, to stay faithful even when your heart feels forgotten. The test of patience reveals what kind of love you are ready for, one born from desperation or one built on devotion. In this season, everything in you will want to rush. You'll be tempted to settle for attention that feels like affection. You'll start to question whether the promise was real. But patience is the altar where real love is purified. It burns away the illusion that fulfillment comes from another person. It teaches you that waiting is not about delay. It's about alignment. God is aligning your timing with His truth, and the longer He takes, the greater the preparation happening on both sides. Patience is not passive. It's an act of faith. Every day you choose to stay hopeful. You are telling heaven, I trust your plan more than my timeline. That declaration shapes your heart into a vessel strong enough to hold the kind of love that lasts. The ones who rush often repeat cycles. The ones who wait are refined for covenant. That's why God doesn't send love when you're ready. He sends it when you're steady, when your peace no longer depends on presence and your joy no longer depends on promises. So, if you're still waiting, don't despair. You're not behind schedule. You're being synchronized with destiny. Every silent day is proof that heaven is still writing. When the right person appears, you'll understand why the waiting took this long. Comment, I trust God's timing. Before God allows the love destined for you to enter your life, He awakens something far more important, your identity. Because until you know who you are in Him, you'll keep mistaking attention for affection and connection for completion. The awakening of identity is the final preparation before divine partnership, the moment your heart begins to recognize itself as whole. When you no longer chase validation, you are ready to recognize value. That's why God often delays love until you've learned to live without needing it. He teaches you that being chosen by someone else is not the same as being called by Him. You stop asking, "Who will love me?" and start declaring, "I am already loved." In this awakening, you begin to see how often you settled, how many times you accepted fragments when God wanted to give you fullness. You understand that true love doesn't arrive to rescue you. It arrives to reflect the healing you've already received. The partner God sends will not complete your heart. They will complement your wholeness. This stage of awakening also exposes the false identities that past pain created. The version of you that believed love must be earned begins to fade. The one that stayed silent, just to be accepted, learns to speak again. The one that feared being too much or not enough finally finds peace in being chosen by the one who never changes his mind about you. You were never meant to find yourself through someone else. You were meant to find God, and in doing so, discover who you've always been, his reflection. From that revelation, you no longer attract what wounds you. You attract what aligns with you. When you wake up to your divine identity, you no longer seek love to feel. Alive, you bring love wherever you go. You stop begging to be seen because you finally see yourself the way heaven always has. Complete, radiant, and ready. You are not waiting to be chosen anymore. You are waiting to be recognized. Every divine love story begins not with two hearts meeting each other, but with one heart meeting its purpose again. Before God brings you your soulmate, he brings you back to the mission he placed within you. Because love that lasts must be built on something larger than emotion. It must be anchored in assignment. When you lose sight of your purpose, relationships become replacements. You start searching for fulfillment in faces instead of direction. But when you rediscover why you were created, you stop chasing compatibility and start craving calling. You realize that the person meant for you will not distract you from your destiny. They will walk beside you in it. God uses solitude to realign your spirit with his design. He whispers dreams you once buried. He reignites passions that once felt too heavy to carry. The closer you draw to him, the clearer your path becomes, and the more peace you feel about where you're going, even without knowing who will join you there. When you are rooted in purpose, love no longer feels like rescue. It feels like recognition. The right person won't fill your emptiness. They will amplify your wholeness. They will not complete your mission. They will confirm it. Two people walking in separate callings can't sustain one covenant. That's why God refines your focus before he reveals your forever. This reunion with purpose transforms the way you wait. You stop asking, "When will they come?" and start asking, "How can I become?" You pour your energy into growth, service, and gratitude. And in that process, you unknowingly become the answer to someone else's prayer. So if you feel alone, it may be because God is calling you back to the reason you were created. Love will come, but only after. Purpose becomes your priority again. Because when you chase purpose, you won't have to find love. Love will find you on the path of destiny. Before you can love again, God will always bring you face to face with the old heart. The one that loved too quickly, forgave too easily, or carried the weight of unhealed wounds. The old heart is not your enemy. It is your evidence. It shows you where you've been, but it cannot guide where you're going. That's why God must heal it before he can trust it. To hold something sacred again. Healing begins when you stop defending your pain and start surrendering it. God cannot heal what you keep pretending doesn't hurt. So he allows the memories to surface, the disappointments, the betrayals, the unmet expectations, not to reopen your wounds but to drain them of their poison. Every tear that falls in this season is not weakness, it's cleansing. Heaven is washing your heart of what once distorted your vision of love. The old heart was impulsive. It mistook attachment for affection. It loved out of emptiness instead of overflow, But through the fire of healing, God teaches you to love differently. He softens what was hardened by disappointment. He rebuilds your trust, not in people first, but in His timing. Because when your heart learns to trust Him again, it will know how to recognize what is truly from Him. This process feels like breaking because it is. God is dismantling the patterns that once made you settle. He's teaching you to choose peace over passion, purpose over comfort, and faith over fear. The healing of your heart is the healing of your vision. You begin to see that not everyone who enters your life is meant to stay, and not every ending is rejection. Sometimes it's redirection wrapped in mercy. When the healing is complete, you'll no longer look for love to prove your worth. You'll look for love that mirrors your wholeness. The scars will remain, but they won't ache anymore. They'll testify. Comment. My heart is ready for what comes from God. There's a sacred rhythm to everything God does, and love is no exception. You may think you're ready, your heart healed, your faith restored, yet heaven remains silent. It's in this tension between readiness and realization that the mystery of God's timing unfolds, because love that comes too soon can become a distraction, but love that comes in His time becomes destiny. God's timing is not a delay, it's a design. He sees the chapters you haven't reached, yet the growth that still needs to happen, the lessons that would be lost if He answered too early. What you call waiting, heaven calls preparation. Every unanswered prayer, every closed door, every quiet night where you wonder if He's forgotten you, all of it is the gentle alignment of divine timing. We often measure readiness by desire, but God measures it by depth. He knows that the heart you have today must be able to hold tomorrow's promise without breaking under the weight of it. So He slows you down, not to frustrate you, but to fortify you. He lets you sit in stillness until your peace is no longer dependent on progress. Because only then can He trust you with a love that won't pull you away from Him. When the right moment arrives, you won't have to force it. God's timing doesn't require chasing, it requires recognition. The person He sends will meet you in peace, not pressure. The connection will feel like confirmation, not confusion. And you'll realize that the years of waiting were not wasted. They were sacred ground where your faith matured and your soul was refined. So if you're still waiting, stop counting days and start cultivating trust. The one who holds time in His hands is never late. Love delayed is not love denied. It's love divinely designed. When God finally says, now, it won't just be the right person, it will be the right version of you. When God finally unveils the person He has been preparing for you, it doesn't come with fireworks or chaos, it comes with peace. The revelation of promised love is quiet, steady, and unmistakable. It is not a surprise. It feels like recognition. Your soul doesn't say, "Who is this?" It whispers, "I've known you before." The promised love of God never arrives to impress. It arrives to align. You won't have to chase it, question it, or force it. It won't demand that you shrink to fit. Instead, it will confirm every lesson you've learned in the wilderness, that real love doesn't confuse. It clarifies. It doesn't drain, it develops. It doesn't distract, it directs. You'll recognize it because it will echo heaven's order. The same peace that carried you through your solitude will fill the space between you and this person. Their presence won't feel like escape. It will feel like home. They will not complete you. They will complement the wholeness God has already formed in you. Together, you will not just love, you will serve, because divine connection always carries divine purpose. This revelation comes when both hearts have been equally refined. It's not about perfection, but preparation. God's timing ensures that both of you have walked through your own deserts, faced your own mirrors, and learned your own lessons. By the time you meet, you'll see the fingerprints of grace on each other's scars and call it beauty. And you'll understand why every almost, every delay, and every heartbreak was necessary. Each one was shaping your discernment to recognize this moment. The wait wasn't wasted, it was wisdom in disguise. When God reveals the promised love, you don't just meet a person, you meet a prophecy fulfilled, a living reminder that what He promises, He performs. The wait ends not with relief, but with reverence. Because now you see, love was never late. It was right on time. When you finally find the one God prepared for you, you realize that love was never the destination. It was a continuation of your faith. It's not the reward for waiting. It's the revelation of what faith was shaping you to receive, because divine love is never separate from spiritual purpose. It is the reflection of heaven's order manifested on earth. The love that comes from God doesn't compete with your calling. It completes your growth in grace. It teaches you that real partnership is not built on emotion alone, but on devotion. It is two hearts walking in the same direction, not toward each other, but toward Him. Faith becomes the foundation, and love becomes its visible fruit. This kind of love prays before it plans. It seeks peace before passion. It forgives quickly, listens deeply, and honors the presence of God in the other person. You will find that the same trust that sustained you in solitude now sustains your union. Because love without faith collapses under pressure, but love built on faith becomes unshakable. Every trial you endured alone now makes sense. The silence taught you to listen. The isolation taught you to trust. The healing taught you to discern. All of it was leading here, not just to someone who loves you, but to someone who will help you love God more. The promise of partnership was never about finding perfection. It was about finding alignment. And as your story unfolds, you'll see that faith and love were never two paths. They were one journey. The more you trust Him, the more you love rightly. The more you love rightly, the more you reflect Him. If this message spoke to your heart, make sure you're subscribed so you don't miss the next revelation. Leave a comment of gratitude below. Thank God for the way He prepared your heart for love. And remember, the greatest love stories are not written by chance, but by the hands of a faithful God.